are live from the top of the CBS Interactive building in San Francisco, California. It's the Apple Bite Extra Crunchy podcast with your host, Mr. Brian Tong.
We're in the building.
We're in the building, baby.
BTZ's in the building.
Yeah.
Stephen Beacham's in the building.
Yeah.
We're here. You could tell it's like getting the band back together. You know, someone's been away from the office a little bit. He has to come back once in a while. So welcome to the show, everybody. It's Apple White Extra Crunchy, episode 85 here. Again, this is all about you all. We had tons of calls. We love it. We appreciate them. Number is 1-800-616-2638. That allows you to be a part of our show. You call in, your name, where you're from, and get right to what you want to talk about. If you have questions or you just have comments, you want to throw some of those bad apples, we're here to get them. Now, another thing, I can't remember his name, but a gentleman's like, oh, I guess you figured out my voicemail and you don't want to answer my questions. Sometimes your questions, guys and gals, are too long. Sometimes we can't hear them clearly, and sometimes they're not necessarily we want the show to be more topic-driven and relate to people that are listening. So sometimes if it's a very specific question, we don't necessarily get into it. But again, you all make the show, so we appreciate it.
Sometimes we straight up just don't know the answer. We're like, what?
Sometimes it's like,
what are they talking about?
Yeah, sometimes like, what was the question? Like, I
have no idea what that person just said.
Sometimes someone calls 10 times in a row and leaves the same question that we don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the same 10, it's not understandable.
Yes.
So anyways, we're going to jump into the show. Lots of things going on. Obviously, kind of the latest news came out of Google I/O. We're going to jump and go push that a little later in the show because I sometimes hear people like, hey, this is an Apple show. I want to hear about Apple. And I'm like,
yeah, but you know, we got to compare.
Fine.
We're comparing and contrasting between Apple, Google, and Amazon and all the big players. So, you know,
we're educating the community. We're educating Apple Bite Nation. Like, don't be in this little hole. Don't be in this like little tunnel vision right there. So let me just jump into this, at least when we talk about some of the Apple news that are leading this week. A report out of Bloomberg says Apple is planning to announce new MacBooks, MacBook Pros, and possibly a MacBook Air at WWDC. And I think the MacBook Air is a little surprise there, but here's what the thinking of is. The MacBook Pro will get the faster Kaby Lake processors. That's what we were hoping for.
Yes.
But it'll be coming at least this year. This is according to Bloomberg again. We'll expect to see that. Also, they're working on a new version of the 12-inch MacBook. That's the super sleek, their super ultra-thin laptop. And then with a faster Intel chip, but they didn't identify the Intel chip for that model yet. And then in addition to that, Apple is considering updating the aging, right? We know the 13-inch MacBook Air, which was kind of like the super thin MacBook before that happened, right? It was their kind of concept ultra-thin laptop that they put it in a manila envelope to kind of tout, look at how thin this is. That was honestly like one of the coolest things because at the time, there just weren't that many thin laptops, right? Steve Jobs did it on stage. The debate is that it would come with a new processor because sales of Apple's cheapest MacBook, which is the Air right now, still remain surprisingly strong. So that's why they're considering doing that. In addition, look, the Mac lineup generates about 11% of Apple's revenue. Now, in the scheme of things, that's not that big, right?
Yeah, that seems small.
It sounds small, but you can't just alienate 10% of your user base. We know that Mac users in general have been frustrated with what Apple has been doing with the Mac. So not only do they need to address the MacBook Pro category and give us the yearly refresh that people typically expect, but also, right, we're still waiting for a Mac Pro update. We're still waiting for iMac updates. Lord knows we're going to see a Mac Mini update.
Yeah.
We don't know.
A lot of people calling for that because Mac Minis are cool.
A lot of people are using that too. So at least we have indication that the MacBooks will get an update. That's a good thing. It comes in an important time too. Microsoft just released their Surface laptop, which is kind of like, you know, running a Windows 10S, kind of a more, I don't want to call it a skinnier version, but a more streamlined version. And the Surface laptop has a lot of buzz around it still. You don't see people jumping over completely to switching, but this is just kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, keeping your product line updated. And there's plenty of people that pretty much ask me every week, should I buy blank product or wait? And clearly you got to wait. So just hang out. WWDC is opening on June the 7th, so we'll see it then.
June the 7th. That's quick. That's
in
coming up in
2
like 2
weeks.
weeks.
Means I'll be back here in 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another live show.
Live. We do it live. So there you go. That's what the latest is shaking bacon with the MacBooks. Now another story. This one comes out of Boy Genius Report. They're citing a source close to Apple that claims that the 7.9-inch iPad Mini, it's currently in its 4th generation. It's the iPad Mini 4. The report says they are planning to phase out that product of the product line. The iPad Mini, there is no actual timeline as to when the iPad Mini will be discontinued, but it will remain on sale for a period of time. But the writing's on the wall. We've seen how the numbers of the iPad Mini, there's two things that are hitting it. The large screen iPhones have kind of cannibalized some of those sales.
Totally.
In addition to the fact that we know this, we say it every show now, tablet sales continue to decline.
Definitely.
So,
well, now's the time to buy an iPad Mini, man, or at least wait a couple months when they like really knock the price down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the iPad Mini is a more than capable iPad for your kids. You know, if you're some rich person that's like, oh yeah, I want to get iPads for my infant sons and daughters, and I know there's people listening, right, that are like, oh, I'd like to get an iPad Mini for my 2-year-old kid.
Get a really strong case for it.
They've been a really good kid. They deserve that. This is not a terrible Tuesday kid. This guy deserves an iPad Mini. So. It's not surprising to me. It's one of those things where there had been reports that part of the reason that iPad sales have dropped is because they haven't released a new iPad Mini in a while, but I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so at all. I think that's that's fake news, bro.
That's fake news.
It's totally fake news. So just expect that the iPad Mini. We might have to do a rest in peace segment eventually for it.
Oh yeah, we can pour some out. We can do a whole ceremony, man.
Pour some out for the iPad Mini. All right, sorry, I just coughed directly in your ears, everybody. In another story, this is a little survey according to Morgan Stanley. 92% of iPhone owners, because we know that everyone is just waiting for an iPhone. But according to this study from Morgan Stanley, 92% of iPhone owners are somewhat likely or extremely likely to upgrade their smartphone in the next 12 months to another iPhone.
I believe that.
Here's where it's also interesting, right? Because we see, do people have iPhone fatigue? The clear answer is no. It's always ecosystem tied. Apple's loyalty rate jumped up compared to last year, which was at 86%, according to this study. The survey polled 1,000 smartphone owners aged 18 and above that own iPhones. So it was 86% last year, and it's 92% for this coming year.
That's crazy how it's going up in the wake of all this bad Apple news the last few years of like people being upset with Apple and like, where's the innovation?
Where's the headphone jack?
Where's the and it's still their loyalty is going up.
Is.
That's weird.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
That's pretty amazing, man.
The other thing that, I think a lot of people, I think the headphone jack, that's probably one of the biggest things that people still can't get over. Like, I can't get over it still because
I've run into the problem often still
and it's
with
just
people.
like, you're like, what the hell? So here's the thing about the new iPhone, and if this is, again, most likely for the iPhone 8, right? This 5.8-inch OLED, super glass screen, blah, blah, blah. We know all these details. That phone is expected to get wireless charging. Now, I'm not saying that if it does have wireless charging, they better not make me buy another wireless charging pad, which they probably will. They won't throw it in there. Yeah. But if you want to be super like, hey, the headphone jack is kind of coming back, you can, if you want to twist this the way that you want to twist it. If the phone has wireless charging, that means that Lightning port is going to be available, and that means you can plug your headphones into the Lightning port.
There you go.
I'm just saying. Now, wireless charging, though, at least up to this point, doesn't charge nearly as fast as just plugging it directly into the cable.
Yeah.
Let alone, like, you have, like, USB charging, 3.0 charging with the iPad, which just charges that thing 2.5 times faster than just a regular USB cable because of the voltage it supports. So, again, I'm not saying it has a headphone jack, but I'm saying it kind of does.
Yeah, totally.
The new one will.
Yeah.
If you charge it wirelessly, because right now you still can't technically charge it while using a headphone jack at the same time. if you're that type of person that
Then you're gonna have to like
still
listen to your
can't
phone
get
on
over
your
that.
nightstand where your charger lives, where your wireless charger lives.
Yes.
You know, you're still kind of stuck
Yes.
in that place.
You are stuck. Here's a cool story coming out from another report from Boy Genius. This also kind of answers a question that sometimes we answer questions within the show. That's why we don't actually play your voicemails as well. So one of our listeners of Applebite Nation called in and said, like, I think that Apple could do something cool. Like, are they going to do smartwatch bands? And we've seen, at least, first of all, indications that the Apple Watch was capable of doing this. Underneath it, where it connects to one of the wristbands, there's an actual a port in there that can be used to transfer data. That has been revealed, but again, we don't use it as a consumer yet. So what's going to happen, according to this report, is that Apple is said to be working on implementing new glucose monitoring features and interchangeable smartwatch bands that could add health functionality to the Apple Watch, including glucose monitoring and other types of smart bands. We've heard these rumors a lot, but Boy Genius Report is now putting their hat in there saying, like, it is going to happen according to their sources. Now, we also know that Apple is going full throttle with their biomedical engineers and their team. They hired something around more than 200 PhDs in the health field last year with an aim and a focus of innovating in the health space, right? The Apple Watch is their gateway into that. We talked also about, was it last week where we talked about how a study by University of Francisco, California, San Francisco, found that it was able to detect like irregular heartbeats 97% of the time.
That's right. Yeah, that was just last week. Totally.
That was last week. So we have that as this is kind of their play in the health space. Other options that Boy Genius reports that some of these other bands would be, how about a band that extends the battery life, a band with a camera in it, like. Remember that product that I was all hyped up about?
Oh, yeah. I forget what it was called.
It was actually called Camera, but CMRA, Camera.
Yeah.
And they were touting, it's video chatting with your, with your watch, but then it really was just video messages. And they actually used clips from our Applewhite show to like promote the product.
Oh, yeah,
Facebook.
you were doing commercials for them.
Yeah, they basically turned it into a commercial, but then I'm like, I canceled my order because it only does video messaging. It doesn't. You can't use FaceTime.
There's
you can't
no
use
real
Skype.
time. I see.
Nope. No. That's honestly, it sounds. Some people might think it's gimmicky. That's what I want. I
think that's what everybody.
It would
wants.
just make it just fun, quirky, cool.
Yeah.
Like those are one of those things that I would love to have. In addition, right? Better battery life. Blah blah blah. But that's just one of those things. I just want to have a Dick Tracy watch, man.
Me too, man.
That's that. I'm sorry if that sounds stupid. I just want a Dick Tracy watch. Maybe they're speaking to me with that. So. It's not clear if these new smartwatch bands that Boy Genius Report is reporting will be available for the third generation watch, which is expected to come out sometime, in the fall of 2017, which they normally do. We don't know that yet. We expect, kind of some of the minor updates when you talk about, battery life and performance, maybe a tweak I don't think they're still going to change. They shouldn't change the form factor. I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise us, but we haven't really heard too much around the Apple Watch, at least from leaks from a manufacturing standpoint. And in a weird way now these days, I kind of like it when we don't hear as much.
You think so? I actually like it because they're talking about disrupting the health medical
Yep.
the whole health organization in America. And I'm all for that because it's clearly broken, right? We always hear it about on the news all the time.
Are you going to talk about who again?
No,
Are you going to talk about who again?
I'm just saying, like, if Apple's trying to disrupt healthcare in our country, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. So. It is a good thing. So we'll see how that plays out. This is a really cool article. Actually, before we go to this, I forgot that we need to read something special.
Let's read something.
Should we read something?
Let me get some tunes happening for the read. Okay, go ahead.
Because we've got a sponsor.
Hey-o.
This episode is brought to you by Jamf Now. When you first start a business, it's pretty easy to keep track of your own devices. But as you grow and start to buy more tech for your employees, it gets harder to keep track of everyone's iMacs and iPhones and iPads. Thankfully, Jamf Now lets you manage your Apple devices from everywhere.
Figuring out how to secure the iPad that your sales rep lost can be tough, especially if you're in different locations. But with Jamf Now, you can configure settings, protect sensitive information, even lock or wipe a device from anywhere. Jamf now secures your stuff so you can focus on your business instead. No IT expertise needed. That is key. And as a special offer to our listeners, you could set up your first 3 devices for free. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
3
devices
for free.
And then you can add more for just $2 a month per device. So start securing your business today.
All right, so check this out, everybody. Go to jamf.com/crunch.
/crunchy.
They should have used crunchy. I'm just saying.
It's all good.
It's all good. Jamf.com/crunch, CRUNCH. Create a free account. Set up your 3 free devices today. That's jamf.com/crunch. I'm going to talk to them because it needs to be crunchy next time. Unless their code system only can support 6 characters.
Yeah.
So they're like, we can just do crunch.
We'll jump on a phone call with them and straighten that out.
Hey, it's crunchy. All right. This is a really cool story that I think all of you, at least that care about Apple in some way, shape, or form, have got to seek out. This is a story in depth behind the scenes of Apple's new campus from Wired magazine. I tell
it
you,
totally looks like a spaceship, man.
I tell you, yeah, that is this Enterprise like on the ground.
Crazy, yeah.
You know, I tell you guys, I love my iPad because I read comics, but I love it because I read magazines on it too when I'm traveling. I do subscribe to Wired digitally, like Empire Magazine, Entertainment Week. I mean, there's a few of them. GQ. I don't know. I don't read GQ as much though. I just look at the pictures, right? But this is a great article. It's titled "One More Thing" by Stephen Levy and Wired, and it really is talking about the process and gives us a hint into kind of really the psychology of this building. And it started as an idea, right? It was started in Steve Jobs' brain all the way back to 2004. He and Johnny Ive were like discussing this reimagined headquarters, but it wasn't until they hired architect Norman Foster in 2009 that these plans began to ramp up. So if you keep scrolling, Beach, there's this part picture, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So for people that are listening, just listen. People that are watching, you can watch. So they had a bunch of different concepts, and we always see about how the Apple campus was a circle, but what actually it started as was these kind of 3 little pods that would be joined, and it kind of looked more like a what do they call it? A propeller. So if you imagine like 3 circles, and then they're kind of joined with curves, you can even see it in the middle of a diagram here. But for those of you listening, yeah, think of it just like a propeller shape.
It looks like a flux capacitor, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's that. But as time evolved, the building ended up becoming a circle, and no one actually takes credit for how it ended up being a circle, but the designers, the architects, and people that were around Steve said, yeah, this was meant to be a circle. Now, here's what I love. This is an excerpt from the piece. Again, it's a long, stretching piece, and it talks about some of the details. Or really, when we talk about Apple pre-Jobs versus Apple now, I can't tell you the attention to detail and anal retentiveness that came along. And because Steve Jobs was that way, we all benefited. Okay. So whether you like the guy or not as a person, whether he was easy to work with, the result of what we saw as a consumer, that was just amazing,
beautiful,
right?
Yeah.
It was beautiful, right? So this is a great little excerpt I'm just going to read from this article. So they'd have meetings just to update, like, how are things going with the project. And this comes from the Wired article. The meetings often lasted for 5 or 6 hours, consuming a significant amount of time in the last 2 years of Jobs' life. He could be scary when he swooped down on a detail he demanded. At one point, Bailing, one of the architect designers, recalls Jobs discussed the walls he had in mind for the offices. He knew exactly what timber he wanted, but not just I like oak or I like maple. He knew it had to be a quarter cut. It had to be cut in the winter, ideally in January, to have the least amount of sap and sugar content. We were all sitting there, architects with gray hair, going, "Holy shit!" That is Steve Jobs right there, right?
That's crazy.
That's a fun.
Yeah.
That's it, right? You hear like that.
He's a genius. I mean, that's what geniuses do,
right?
You know?
They're totally like that. They know, even the person who is responsible for the landscape and the trees. It was said that he even said that Steve Jobs had a better eye and better finesse than some of the other arborists that this gentleman had worked for when you're talking about landscaping, right? Like Steve Jobs was better than his contemporaries and peers that are in the actual industry because of the knowledge. Like Steve Jobs talked about, you could never replace a a tree was like a piece of art to him. So like an age weathered, twisted tree that had this look and feel that was unique to it. You couldn't just be like, oh, just put in this new sapling tree, right?
Yeah.
So this whole idea of this, headquarters was to build this space that combined like this feeling of like being in one with nature, but also one with this futuristic building. I think what's also interesting that the article touches upon is maybe some of the underlying, I don't want to say controversy, but for example, this is a project that is roughly $5 billion. $5
billion
to build.
That's incredible.
It was started, it's been 5 years since Steve Jobs was at, I believe he went to Cupertino City Council and kind of proposed it. It was towards the end of his life and whatnot.
Yeah.
But some people, like when I read this article, and I really encourage you all to read this article, the first thing that I thought about was like, dang, are they paying this much attention to their products right now?
I know, right?
like seriously, they talk about just some amazing things. This headquarters is shaped like a circle or a ring, and they talk about how they had to make sure the slope of the glass in the inner circle and outer circles of the UFO were angled so that when rain hits it, it streams down it and doesn't just get stuck to them because they're straight, right?
Yeah, you can't have any. You can't
have
any
water
drop
droplets.
Spots. Hell no.
Is this building IP68 rated or IP67? That's what I want to know. They talk about the airflow that they took inspiration from Formula One racers about how airflow moves, sucks in from the bottom and then the exhaust comes out of the top. Just a lot of I don't know if you can scroll down, Beach, but there's a picture of like a stone wall.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that.
And
it's outside the gym or something.
Yes, and so this is another great. I loved this little excerpt from it as well. Talking about the stone gym. Here, I'm gonna read this part. The stone for the exterior of the fitness and wellness center was sourced from a quarry in Kansas and then distressed like a pair of jeans to make it look like the stone at Jobs' favorite hotel in Yosemite.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
This is the detail we're talking about, people. Okay? And then if you scroll up a little, Beach, there's this circular thing. This is what I also love. The cafeteria, workers who want to take the cafe's pizza back to their pods. Apple created and patented a container that lets air and moisture escape so the crust won't get soggy.
That's crazy.
Only at Apple Park. Okay. Like, I want to visit this building, quite honestly. It sounds amazing.
I think all pizza joints should adopt this design here.
Patented. Apple patented that.
Okay,
patented
they're going to have to owe Apple a lot of money.
But what also made me laugh about that is, I don't know if people recall, but a long time ago, Johnny Ives basically said he'd love to design like cups or like coffee, like coffee makers or like coffee mugs.
Oh, didn't he do a straw or something like that? Or maybe I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the cup. But
yeah, it was things like he wanted to do that, and so I gotta imagine some of his passion was channeled into making this pizza crust preventative soggy crust pizza container.
It's amazing.
So again, check this out. There are so many nuggets inside this article. I enjoyed reading it, and there's this one picture towards the bottom that makes me laugh because it's like Tim Cook looking like a really hardcore badass, and it's kind of weird. It's like weird.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he doesn't look happy at all. It's like the photographer said, "Get mean,
look
Tim.
tough.
Get mean. Look tough."
Well,
this is tough, Tim.
Oh, it's like playing an ad.
It's okay. Don't even worry about it. So check it out. The Wired article is called "Apple's New Campus: An Exclusive Look Inside the Mothership," and definitely worth checking out for people that are watching. Tough Tim Cook.
He's like, yeah, he's mugging, man. He's mugging.
He's mean mugging. Apple's also bringing some new action to their Apple stores. I really like this because this harkens back to kind of the original Apple retail store days, which I was a part of in the OG days. Apple is bringing this new program that they've launched around the world called Today at Apple. But what makes this different is in the past, like when the stores first opened, we used to do these classes like on iTunes and iLife, and then there were these like summer workshops where we taught kids how to use the apps and adults, and they still kind of have those mini workshops, but they're very self-contained. They're in the stores, they're at a table. But now with this Today at Apple program, and there's a video clip that I put on there, Beach on the side, you can like go out on the streets and take a photography session. There's stuff about like drawing or designing with the iPad. There's programming classes. This is all trying to bring people into the Apple stores every day to learn new things. And I think that's really important to kind of make it kind of have this like culture around the store that you can connect to in these communities. I don't think there's that. They have the unique opportunity to be able to do this. There's going to be, more live concerts, but something something every day, like trying, people want to do things. Hey, how to use your iPad Pro pencil beyond just scribbling, like stuff like that. So I think it's really cool. I'm a fan of this. I don't know if I'm gonna go check out a class. I think there was even like
we should, man.
There were even classes like I believe there was some class about like taking DSLR photos, just stuff like that, right? Like, and it's totally free.
We should go take a class and then make some video if they let us.
No, we don't tell them who we are.
Oh, we secretly. Okay, yeah, that'd be
Beach and Tong, undercover.
Dun, 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 dun.
So check it out. It's there today at Apple classes around the world. I think it's worth signing up. I got to check out something like that. And then in kind of the last fun story of the day, I love this because it totally would make sense and would be like just perfect sounding. Jeff Goldblum could have been the voice of Apple. Have been the voice of Apple.
He blew it.
Now, this is what happened in a recent interview on the Today Show in Australia. Jeff Goldblum was being interviewed, and he kind of brought this up, and it was kind of said in passing, but he says, Steve Jobs called me up a few decades ago to be the voice of Apple. That was early on, and I did not know it was Steve Jobs.
What is this gif?
So, fine, it wasn't meant to be, but could you imagine, like, couldn't you hear Jeff Goldblum's voice as your Siri?
Oh, totally.
Like,
yeah.
as your assistant?
It would be great. Yeah, I would
be
love
like
it.
so pleasant and so smooth. And I'm like, man, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. So did he ever talk to Steve Jobs or?
No, he didn't. No, he said he didn't even know it was Steve Jobs that called him.
Man,
that's crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
So he probably just thought it was someone from Apple, and I was like, and who knows? He may or may not have done. This is 2 decades ago, but it's kind of funny how it all plays out. Instead, now you can find Jeff Goldblum in TV commercials for Menulog, a local food ordering app.
He's also going to be in a new movie. I forget which movie it is.
He's going to be in a lot of movies.
Is he going to be in the new dinosaur movie, right?
Well, he's coming back for Jurassic World 2. He's going to be the Grandmaster in Thor Ragnarok, who is the Collector's brother in the comics, and he's going to play a role in that movie.
Let's hear his voice for a second.
Tap to order delivery, because at this moment, silence is
golden. Bloom. Silence is Goldblum. I'm hungry.
That could have been my Siri.
That's good.
My Siri.
That would have been awesome.
Oh, well. All right. Do you want to jump to the phone calls, man?
Yeah, let's do some phone calls.
Okay, let's get some calls.
Thank you all for calling.
Yes, yes.
We had some good calls today. Here we go.
You're gonna pick up the phone.
Let me turn this off.
You're still listening to Jeff Goldblum, aren't you?
He's stuck on loop in my world. Here we go.
Hey, this is Rhodey from Tampa. I just had a quick question on what you guys may think about the new Apple Siri Echo kind of speaker. I was wondering if by them canceling the Airport Express and time capsules, if they have an idea of maybe making that smart hub, this Siri speaker, also being a Wi-Fi router. So maybe they're trying to do 2 devices in one, where they can have the Siri speaker be a hub for your home, but also control your devices because it's already a router and access point as well. Anyways, love the show. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.
Love this idea. I'm 100 for it. We don't know what's going to happen with the whole router situation, right? We've heard all those reports that they are going to discontinue it. There were reports earlier that Apple's Siri-like speaker might be part of a new Apple TV. I think whether it's an Apple whether it's integrated into an Apple TV or whether it's integrated into a Wi-Fi router. We even know that there are reports that Google might be working on a future product that is integrated with their Google Wi-Fi as well. So it makes sense just because of where you could locate these things in a central spot with your voice. We'll see if it happens, but I love the idea. The thinking's right on the money. So
I don't think this would happen actually, because it would cost a fortune, right?
A fortune?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a speaker and a router, so Apple would definitely price it high, and
rich people would buy it.
And rich people would buy it, but it wouldn't compete with Alexa and Google Home, which are a lot cheaper. Like I got my Echo for like $30 or something. Like it was real
If you
cheap.
got a dot, it was like $50,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but I got like a deal. I got some deals.
Oh,
it was like real
a
cheap.
deal.
So they wouldn't compete right away. I feel like people are gonna easily go for the cheaper thing that's more fleshed out at this point than buying something really expensive from Apple that is two things in one. I don't know. That's
I think that you're right, and I also think that the Apple community should never be underestimated.
true. I mean, 92% approval.
To buy an Apple product because it's an Apple product. I think there's a lot of people out there, whether you want to call them sheeples or not, that don't even think other tech companies really exist.
That's right.
And still will so when Apple says here's our Siri speaker, they're going to be like, "Oh, I kind of heard about this virtual assistant. Like, I'm going to give it a try."
Yeah.
Wow, Apple, you really did it. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you saw, we didn't even talk about it, but if you saw what Google's assistant did and what it is doing and how it integrates with not only how smart it is, but how it can use your TV as a screen, kind of like what Phil Schiller was alluding to. Hey, sometimes you need a screen.
Yeah.
Google's Assistant is available on iOS. They just made it available as an app, which is not going to be integrated directly in your phone, so it won't really exactly behave the same. But I encourage people to download the free Google Assistant app to understand how much better the AI on that is compared to Siri.
I went looking for that last night and I couldn't find it. Is it now in the Apple Store?
It's on the Apple Store. I have a direct link also on my. I tweeted it out, but
Sweet.
I'll send it to you. It's just. You've got to try it out. You'll see things that it can do that it can't do, but ultimately you'll be like, wow, this is just smarter than Siri.
Yeah.
Right? It has for example, even something as stupid as if you ask Siri for directions, she's going to throw you into Apple Maps, right?
Boo.
If you ask the Google Assistant for directions, it's going to throw you into Google Maps.
Yay. That's what I want.
That to me is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
So check it out. The tech and Google's Assistant just got significantly crazier and better, especially with their Google Lens platform. That will blow your mind.
Cool.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Next call.
Brian Beach, Bob calling from Waikiki. Thanks so much for what you do with the Apple Bite and the Apple Bite Extra Crunchy. I am scooping what you're digging. Loved it for a long time. Brian, you're on the mark, man. QC35 Bose, best headset out there, and love reading comics on my iPad Pro. However, I think you missed the mark on the iPod AirPods. These things are great. Big question for you, though, is are they going to be included with the iPhone 8, or are we going to be back to the wires? They did remove the headset jack. Is it because the next generation is going to be only pods, or is there going to be an option for it? Thanks for all you do, guys. You guys are awesome. Out.
Aloha, Bob. Shaka, Bob.
Aloha.
Not Shaka, Bra. Shaka, Bob. Hey, I mean, I'll never count them out of making it an option, but there's no way they're going to bundle them in there because they cost too much money. They want to make that money.
Well, there's a story that the next iPhone's going to cost like $1,000. Maybe they're just building that price into the phone. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, you know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying.
That's a possibility.
I'm scooping what you're digging.
You're scooping what I'm
scooping
digging.
what you're digging, Bob. Also, look, Bob, for the record, I say that the AirPods are very, very good. I just don't think they're great. And I think the second generation, they have a chance to be great. But they're good.
They don't work with Skype calls. Yesterday we did Google I/O. Scott Stein Skyped in from.
Oh, they don't work with Skype.
They
really?
don't work with Skype calls. He Skyped in from Google I/O, and we did a test, and the AirPods were not working properly, so we went with wired.
But they
There
can
you
get
go.
better from a functionality standpoint.
I'm
That's
sure
really
like
what
an
I'm getting
update
at.
or something will fix them, but yeah.
It's weird. I will say, though, when I say never underestimate the power of Apple, I'm telling you right now, if any other company made those earpods the way they looked, people would have been like totally grossed out because they look like Q-tips or whatever. But because it has Apple, it's like there's almost this like, oh yeah, I'll wear those, and then when you wear them, you actually forget what they look like.
Yeah, totally.
Like you don't remember what they look like.
I see people wearing them just all the time. Like they don't even take them out. It's just part of their ears now. You know?
Yeah, I don't talk to people like that. All right, next call. Thanks for calling, Bob. Shaka, Bob.
All right.
What's up, guys? George from Seattle here. Hey, I've been interested in buying AirPods since they came out, but I was going to wait for the second generation because second generation products seem to be so much better than first gen by Apple. And I was looking forward to some of the touch sensitive controls that Brian put them about in the first generation. I was also hoping for a different color. And I was thinking it was going to be a year until the second generation came out. But now that Apple has taken so long to get the production ramped up for the first generation, I'm wondering, when is the second generation going to come out? So anyway, I wanted your thoughts on that. And also I was wondering, what do you think is taking them so long?
Oh, was that the one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Early?
I mean, they're not gonna have a new one in another year. They don't have enough. So, when you ask, what's taking them so long? Clearly, whatever their suppliers, whatever components that they're working with, maybe it's honestly the W1 chip that they can't manufacture enough because it is a new chip for a new product that hasn't been in any of their products before. We also know the W1 chip is in some Beats products, so you're also like spreading that inventory across multiple product lines. That could be part of it, but the waiting for an AirPods is still 6 weeks. There's still a 6-week wait from the time you order them online. So the demand is obviously exceeding the supply. I think that they could get away with having these AirPods for literally another year. I think they could leave these out for 2 years before they do anything to it. And if that means that they're going to make a big improvement to them, then that's fine. Like I said, they're really, really, really good. I just don't think they're great. Like when I call something great, it's basically like the best in the industry and it doesn't have many flaws.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they will try to get them out sooner. I mean, I'm probably totally wrong, but Tim Cook called them what did he call them? A cultural phenomenon?
No.
Did he call them that?
No.
So why wouldn't they try to rush to get the second gen pair out? So
boba is a cultural phenomenon only in the Bay Area, right?
What's boba? I don't even know.
The tapioca balls with the drink with the big straw. You're anti-boba. You don't like putting balls in your mouth,
I don't like
right?
any like liquid that has a ball in it. I don't know why.
You don't like chewy balls in your mouth?
No, hell no.
You don't like chewy balls,
No.
huh? Okay. Just want to make that clear.
I'll eat a meatball. Give me a meatball sub. Yes.
All right, next call.
All right.
Hey guys, love the show. It's Matt here in Wilmington, Ohio. I was calling about the Apple Alexa type speaker thing. As someone who's in the ecosystem who also owns an Echo, I love my Echo, but I think where Apple can really kind of make this work is to really fold everything into the ecosystem. I just learned that Alexa can make calls, but I thought immediately how cool would it be if the Apple product could integrate iMessage, could work with iCal, which Alexa doesn't really do very well. So I think if they really want to kind of jump into this as the third kind of thing in the market, I think they could do a good job to really fold in all of the things in the Apple ecosystem and get some potential customers that way. So love the show. Thanks. Have a great day.
Great call. 100% agree. It just, to me, look, the ecosystem is never underestimate the power of the Apple ecosystem and its users. I think in order for them to make Apple users feel good about something like this, Siri needs to improve significantly. It just comes down to that. In the arms race of who's the best virtual assistant, to me, they're somewhere around third or fourth place.
Totally.
You have Amazon, you have
Definitely
Google,
third or fourth.
you have Cortana. Cortana's just not used as much, but I argue that Cortana actually is a little smarter than Siri.
Yeah, Cortana is cool. I mean, you just ask it to like pull up an app on your computer and it happens. It works a lot of ways the same as Siri, but it is a lot smarter. Yeah.
And on our video show, it's all about the ecosystem. I say that all the time. I said that with the Siri speaker. So my friend, you are right on the money, and we'll see what they do. There are rumblings that we might see the Siri speaker at WWDC in addition to a new 10.5-inch iPad. Those stories have also been thrown out. So we'll just have to wait and see. But
we're in the midst of the AI wars.
Oh,
so this is fun. Right?
Well, you know what? That's a great point you make, and I think that whenever there was a big kind of technological jump or let's say revolution, it had to do with IO. So what I mean by that is like we used to have a command line, then you went to a mouse interface, right?
Mm-hmm.
A point and click mouse. Then you had like touch screens. Touch screens changed the game, and that was and look, the keyboard and mouse thing was an Apple thing. Yeah, fine. It was Xerox before Apple, but the mouse was popularized for the mainstream consumer by Apple. So was multi-touch. Well, now the new interface is voice. And it's not something that's going to just take over in a year. You can tell a lot of these people that are doing voice assistants, they're evolving over time. But to be the winner for this next kind of great race, you kind of got to be the winner in voice. And I think right now Google is on top of that, and Apple, who had the mouse, Apple, who had the multi-touch, if they're not ahead of the game, maybe the power of their ecosystem can help drive that through, but it's no longer the technology that is the best that's pushing them forward. It's the fact that they have a large ecosystem, which is kind of a little different. So they still have to work it. They still have to make it great. But right now they're trailing from the voice assistant from a standpoint of the wars. And if you look at the interoperability of how Google's assistant works, not only with the home product, but then talks to your TV, can talk to your phone, can talk to other speakers. Like they're trying to build like what the Star
Your
Trek.
whole home.
They're trying to build computer, right?
Exactly.
That's what they're doing. Apple doesn't even have a product out there yet.
No.
So, and they're really behind. And Google's expertise is all this data and neural networks, machine learning, and that's what AI is all about. That's why it's like kind of hard for me to see Apple make a big jump, but they can do some great things with the ecosystem.
The Google Lens thing that they talked about was something I've been wanting a long time, and that's a big deal. Like I always look for an app. Like I know they used plants as an example, right? And I've looked for an app to identify plants, and there's nothing like that anywhere. And then Google has one, so that's a big deal. Just that alone.
Their Google Lens, using your camera and being able to, because of their image recognition, again, neural networks and machine learning platform, can spot specific types of flowers, using the GPS on your phone. And then using your camera, it knows where you are. And then when it sees certain buildings, it knows, oh, it's this business. Let me show you some ratings for it. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Like, and it's working.
It's working.
It's not like, oh, this is 5 years. Like, this is coming like this summer.
Yeah.
So just be ready. Just be ready. Like,
AI
is it's scary. It's also kind of scary.
It's scary, yeah.
Like, we're seeing some amazing stuff, but it's kind of scary. Like, how much do you need to know to show us that stuff?
Well, what Stephen Hawking is saying, like AI is gonna end humanity.
Right.
He's straight up saying that we got to get off this planet in 100 years. He's saying
that's right. He said that.
And we're like headed. We're on a speeding car headed towards that as fast as we can right now. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I mean, I know I won't be alive, so I'm kind of cool with that. Like honestly, I'm cool with that.
I know my kids are 3 and 5 years old, and they're talking to robots on a regular basis. All the time, like the favorite thing to ask is, Alexa, play Everything Is Awesome. That's their favorite thing, or turn off the lights. But I mean, they're that young and they've already know how to use an iPad touchscreen. They know how to interface with computers. They understand uploading, downloading, and they're talking to robots. It's happening.
Yeah.
So
it's totally happening.
I'm sending them to space camp.
Is that affordable?
Well, we're gonna have to get off this planet. I want my kids to be ready, man. Seriously.
All right, so I think that's gonna do it for this, right? We don't have any more calls.
That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, for watching. It's the Apple Bite Extra Crunchy, Extra Munchy. Remember, you guys and gals, be a part of the show. Call us at 1-800-616-2638. That's the way to get in this show. We love your calls. We love hearing y'all. And I think that's just going to wrap it up for today.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you guys very much.
Thank you, Beach.
Thank you, Brian. Good to have you back in the studio.
Yes, sir. All right. We'll see you guys all next week. Take care. Be safe. Peace.
I hit the wrong button here. Here we go.